They demolished her bridge. They broke into her home. They targeted her dying sister. But when Eleanor Reynolds discovered her HOA was fronting a multi-million-dollar casino scheme, she turned her corruption into a weapon. FBI raids, secret recordings, a senator's downfall. This is a true story of how one woman's fight for family brought an entire town to its knees, and why they'll never stop her. Eleanor Reynolds wiped dirt from her hands as she stepped back to admire her garden. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across her property, the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers filling the air. It had been a good day until she spotted the envelope. Bright yellow. Official HOA letterhead. Her stomach dropped. She tore it open, fingers trembling as she read. Unauthorized structure must be removed within 30 days. Failure to comply will result in fines and legal action. The words blurred. They were talking about the bridge. Her bridge. The one she'd built last summer, plank by plank, after Emily's diagnosis. The one that turned a 45-minute drive around Lake Pinewood into a 3-minute walk. The one that let her rush to Emily's side when the chemo nausea hit, when the fever spiked, when the nights were too dark for her sister to face alone. She sank onto her porch steps, the paper crumpling in her grip. How could they do this? She dialed the HOA office. No answer. Of course not. Karen Mitchell, the board president, only worked when it suited her. Eleanor's jaw tightened. Tomorrow's emergency board meeting just became personal. Emily's voice was thin, weaker than last week. They're making you take down the bridge? Eleanor clutched the phone, pacing her kitchen. They claim I didn't get permits. But I checked. The county said I didn't need any. A pause. Then Emily's whisper. Ellie, what do I do without it? The fear in her sister's voice sent a chill through Eleanor. Emily had always been the strong one, until cancer carved her hollow. Now, she relied on Eleanor for everything. Rides to chemo, groceries, the simple reassurance that she wasn't alone on that island. Their parents had left it to Emily for a reason. 3 generations of family memories. Sunsets over the water. Laughter echoing across the dock. I'll fight this, Eleanor vowed. But as she hung up, her gaze drifted to the lake. Without the bridge, Emily was stranded, and someone wanted it that way. The community center buzzed with quiet murmurs. Neighbors sat in neat rows, while the HOA board, 5 smug faces, loomed at the front table. Karen Mitchell presided like a queen, her silver-streaked bob perfectly styled. Reading glasses dangling from a chain. Eleanor raised her hand. I'd like to discuss the violation notice regarding my footbridge. Karen's eyes narrowed. Eleanor Reynolds. 42 Lakeside Drive. Your unpermitted construction violates 3 covenants. It's on my private property, Eleanor countered, standing. And it connects my sister's island, which isn't even under HOA jurisdiction. The shoreline is... Karen's voice was ice. You failed to submit plans. My sister has stage 3 breast cancer. That bridge is her lifeline. A hush fell. For a second, Eleanor thought she saw a flicker of hesitation, until Karen cut in. Personal circumstances don't exempt anyone from the rules. The board voted unanimously. As Eleanor stormed out, Sophia Lee caught her arm. They did this to me, too. Karen's husband plays golf with the county commissioner. Eleanor's hands curled into fists. This wasn't about rules. It was about power. Derek Watson was on his deck again. Eleanor spotted him as she trudged home. Phone raised. Telephoto lens pointed straight at her property. When their eyes met, he didn't look away. Just smirked. And waved. Her skin crawled. Derek had moved in 6 months ago and immediately weaponized the HOA. Her wind chimes? Too noisy. Her bird feeder? Attracts pests. Now her bridge? Yet his massive boat, parked illegally in his driveway for weeks, never got a citation. Eleanor yanked her curtains shut, but through the slats, she saw it. The black SUV with tinted windows, idling at the end of her street. Pine Harbor Development's logo on the door. Coincidence? She didn't believe in those anymore. They're all connected. Sophia's whisper sent a shiver down Eleanor's spine. They stood in Sophia's kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. Karen's brother-in-law owns Green Valley Landscaping, a fake company that got $500,000 from the HOA, and half the board works for Pine Harbor. Eleanor's pulse pounded. Why? Sophia slid a newspaper across the table. A headline glared. Pine Harbor's luxury resort breaks ground amid controversy. The photo showed a map, with Emily's island circled in red. They need her land, Sophia said, and they'll make life hell until she sells. Eleanor's blood turned to fire. This wasn't just a bridge. It was a war. With each revelation, Eleanor's resolve hardens. The HOA's facade cracks, exposing a web of greed, one that stretches from Karen's petty tyranny to a senator's backroom deals. But Eleanor isn't just fighting for a bridge anymore. She's fighting for her sister, for her home, for every neighbor who's been bullied into silence. And she's about to learn. The most dangerous thing you can do to corruption? Document everything. Eleanor's phone rang as she finished photographing the bridge from every possible angle. Proof it wasn't visible from common areas. The number was unfamiliar. Ms. Reynolds? Martin Green, Pine Harbor Development. Her grip tightened on the phone. How did you get this number? Small community, he chuckled. Smooth as polished glass. Listen, I might have a solution. We're interested in waterfront parcels like yours. Sell to us, and this HOA problem disappears. I'm not selling. Think about it, he pressed. We'd offer well above market value. Enough for you and your sister to relocate somewhere more accommodating. The implication hung in the air. Somewhere Emily could die comfortably. Eleanor hung up, her hand shaking. When she called Emily, her sister's voice was sharp with alarm. Ellie, someone from Pine Harbor just called me too. The pieces clicked. This wasn't about a bridge violation. It was a land grab. At dawn, the roar of diesel engines woke Eleanor. 3 trucks from Lakeside Construction idled in her driveway. A foreman in a hard hat marched toward her porch, clipboard in hand. Eleanor Reynolds? We're here to remove the unauthorized structure. You can't, she snapped, blocking his path. I filed an appeal. The foreman shrugged. Orders come directly from the HOA board president. Behind him, workers unloaded crowbars and saws. Eleanor planted herself on the bridge. This is private property. Touch it, and I'll sue for trespassing. A tense silence. Then the foreman stepped aside, muttering into his phone. After a hissed argument, he turned back. We'll postpone for now. As the trucks left, Eleanor didn't relax. Karen wouldn't back down. And next time, they might bring the sheriff. The county records clerk squinted at her screen, then at Eleanor. That's strange. What is? There's a pending petition to redraw shoreline boundaries, filed by Pine Harbor Development. Eleanor's blood ran cold. What would that mean for my property? If approved, the clerk tapped the screen. All shoreline construction would require county permits, approved by Commissioner Phillips. The same commissioner who golfed with Karen's husband. Eleanor's vision tunneled. They weren't just harassing her. They were rewriting the rules to make her bridge illegal. And Emily's island? Suddenly, its undervalued price made sense. Pine Harbor needed it, and they'd cheat to get it. Sophia's text buzzed at midnight. Come to my house. Now. Eleanor found 4 neighbors in Sophia's living room, all clutching HOA violation notices. Marcus Johnson, forced to tear down his boat dock. Elderly Mrs. Foster, fined weekly for her non-conforming garden. The Patels denied a sunroom, while Karen's identical addition sailed through. This isn't random, said a stranger in the corner. James Wilson, the HOA's ex-treasurer, slid a folder across the table. I resigned when I found payments to a fake consulting firm. Tried to report it. Then my house was ransacked. Eleanor flipped through the documents. Altered meeting minutes. Inflated vendor invoices. They're stealing from us, James said, and targeting anyone who resists. Mrs. Foster's hands trembled. What do we do? Eleanor looked at their faces. Fearful, furious, ready to fight. We document everything, she said, and hit them where it hurts. James's laptop glowed in the dark cafe. Pine Harbor's not just building condos. He pulled up a blueprint labeled Pine Harbor Resort and Entertainment Zone. Eleanor's stomach dropped. Emily's island sat at the center. Phase 1, luxury homes. Phase 2, James zoomed in. A private casino. Their parent company owned stakes in gambling, and Senator Williams slipped a loophole into last year's bills. Hospitality entertainment zones. Eleanor read aloud. No gambling restrictions. Bingo. James showed her campaign finance records. Pine Harbor CEO donated $200,000 to Williams. Eleanor's coffee went cold. Her little bridge stood in the way of a multi-million-dollar scheme. And Emily, she wasn't just inconvenient. She was expendable. That night, headlights tailed Eleanor's car. The black SUV again. When she parked, it slowed, Pine Harbor's logo gleaming under the streetlight. Her phone buzzed. A known number. Selling would be easier. Some battles aren't worth the cost. Eleanor locked her doors, heart hammering. But as she peered through the blinds, she saw Derek on his porch, smirking, phone pressed to his ear, watching her, waiting. She grabbed her camera. If they wanted war, she'd give them evidence. The 3:17 a.m. text from Emily lit up Eleanor's phone. Did you hear that? Eleanor was already pulling on her boots when the second message came. Sounded like power tools near the bridge. She grabbed her camera and ran outside, the cold night air biting through her sweater. Halfway down the path, the beam of her flashlight caught splintered wood. Her bridge, her sister's lifeline, was being dismantled in the dark. 3 shadowy figures worked with ruthless efficiency. One snapped photos on his phone, Derek's familiar smirk visible in the screen's glow. Eleanor hit record, zooming in as they saw to the main support beam. The bridge groaned, then collapsed into the lake with a sickening crack. Derek turned toward the sound of her gasp. Their eyes met across the water. This wasn't just vandalism. It was a message. The sheriff dismissed it as HOA enforcement. According to their records, you consented to the removal, Officer Jenkins said, barely glancing at the wreckage. Eleanor's hands shook with rage. They forged my signature. That's a serious accusation, ma'am. She had no proof, only her camera footage, which the sheriff refused to watch. Exhausted, she returned home to find her front door slightly ajar. Every drawer had been rifled through. Her desktop computer, with all her evidence, was gone. On the coffee table where no card had been before, Pine Harbor Development. Final offer, $750K. Expires tomorrow. The handwritten addendum made her blood freeze. Next time, we won't be so polite. Sophia's call came as Eleanor boarded up her broken window. Marcus just got evicted. Eleanor found him on the curb outside his home, suitcases piled haphazardly. A locksmith was installing new deadbolts for the bank. They claim my last 6 payments failed processing, Marcus said, voice hollow. But I have bank records proving. They don't care about proof, Eleanor interrupted, watching Derek across the street, leaning against his SUV with folded arms. Sophia pulled up property records on her phone. 6 foreclosures in 2 years. All processed through Derek's mortgage company. All bought by an LLC called Lakeside Holdings. Eleanor zoomed in on the registration. The listed agent? Thomas Mitchell, Karen's brother-in-law. The black sedan parked in Eleanor's driveway at midnight. 2 men in suits emerged. FBI, we need to talk about your HOA. Inside, Agent Torres spread crime scene photos across Eleanor's kitchen table. Karen meeting developers in dark parking lots, envelopes changing hands. We've been building a RICO case for 8 months, Torres said. Your bridge complaint gave us probable cause for wiretaps. Eleanor's breath caught at the next image. Senator Collins pointing at a map of Emily's Island. Pine Harbor needs that land to exploit a gambling loophole, Agent Michaels explained. They've been isolating your sister to force a sale. Eleanor's hands clenched. What now? Torres slid a tiny device across the table. Wear this to tomorrow's HOA meeting. Get Karen to admit the scheme. The weight of it settled in Eleanor's palm. This wasn't just a wire. It was a weapon. The storm raged as Eleanor kayaked Emily's Island, the FBI's warning ringing in her ears. They're making their move tonight. Through the rain-lashed window, she saw Emily backed against the kitchen counter. Face pale, arms crossed offensively. Derek, and a slick-haired man in a $3,000 suit, loomed over her, documents spread on the table. "The Swiss clinic is world-class," the suit said. "All expenses paid. Just sign." Emily's voice wavered. "I told you I'm not selling." Derek grabbed her wrist. "You'll die in debt without this deal." Eleanor smashed the flower pot through the window. Glass shattered as she climbed through, blood dripping from her hand. "Actually," she said, stepping between them, "she'll die owning this island." Outside, blue lights flashed. The FBI's megaphone echoed. "The house is surrounded." Derek's smirk finally faltered. The community center was packed. Every chair filled, neighbors murmuring as Karen Mitchell took the podium. Her usual crisp blazer replaced by a strained smile. The FBI's raid had made the news. People wanted answers. Eleanor adjusted the wire under her sweater, the tiny device cold against her ribs. "These allegations are baseless," Karen announced, voice too steady. "The board has always acted in the community's best interests." Eleanor stood, then explained this. She nodded to Sophia, who distributed copies of bank records. $487, 000 paid to Green Valley Landscaping, Karen's brother-in-law's shell company. The room erupted. Karen's mask slipped. "Where did you get those?" "Public records," Eleanor said, stepping forward. "Just like the property assessments you altered to force foreclosures. Or the bribes from Pine Harbor." Karen's husband lunged up. "That's confidential." "Not when it's evidence." Marcus shot back. Karen's eyes darted to the exit, where two men in suits now stood. She snapped, "You ungrateful idiots. That resort would have doubled your property values." A stunned silence. Then, from the back doors, "I believe that's an admission." Senator Collins strode in, FBI agents flanking him. Karen's face went white. "James," Karen gasped, reaching for the senator, "telling you approve this." Collins adjusted his tie, stepping away. "I'm afraid Mrs. Mitchell has been confused. My office is fully cooperating with this investigation." Karen's shriek echoed as agents cuffed her. Eleanor watched, numb, as Torres approached. "We found Derek's offshore accounts. He's already fled the country." "And Pine Harbor?" CEO rolled on everyone, gave us Senator Collins on a silver platter. But as Eleanor turned, she caught Collins's smirk, the look of a man who still thought he'd win. Derek's mansion was dark, the driveway empty. Eleanor peered through a window. No furniture, no boat, just a single sticky note on the fridge. "Better luck next time." Mrs. Foster hobbled up, clutching a manila envelope. He forgot something. Inside, flight manifests. Derek had flown to Belize, a country with no extradition. But beneath them, Eleanor found a second set. Senator Collins. Same destination. Same day. "They planned this," she whispered. Sophia's phone pinged. A news alert. Senator Collins on vacation amid corruption probe. The game wasn't over. Emily's hands shook as she inserted the thumb drive. "I forgot I had this." The video showed Derek and Senator Collins on her dock last summer, laughing. "Once we fake the environmental reports, she'll have no choice but to sell." Collins said, clinking his beer against Derek's. Emily's voice off camera. "Who's there?" The screen jerked as she hid the camera, but not before capturing Collins's reply. "Tell your sister to take the money, or we'll make her." Eleanor hugged Emily tight. This puts Collins at the scene. He's done. The old woman's hands, gnarled with arthritis, smoothed the fragile pages. 12 years of meetings. Every lie, every vote. Eleanor scanned the entries, dates matching forged documents, bribes disguised as consulting fees. But the last page stole her breath. Meeting with Senator Collins and PH Dev. Agreed. Foreclose Reynolds Island by winter. Dated the week before Emily's diagnosis. They targeted her before she was sick. Eleanor realized, sickened. Mrs. Foster's eyes gleamed. Now the world will know. The headline screamed for weeks. Senator resigns after secret recording surfaces. Pine Harbor CO pleads guilty in fraud. Karen got 8 years. Derek and Collins? Still free. But as Eleanor stood on the new bridge, wider, sturdier, built with restitution funds, she watched Emily walk toward her, color finally back in her cheeks. Around them, neighbors picnic where no trespassing signs once stood. "You did it," Emily whispered. Eleanor shook her head. "We all did." Somewhere in Belize, a phone rang. Unanswered, the letter from Collins and Whitmore LLP arrived by certified mail. Eleanor tore it open, scanning the legalese until one phrase burned into her vision. Defamation lawsuit seeking $5 million in damages. Karen's husband had filed it from prison. Sophia slammed her fist on Eleanor's kitchen table. "They're trying to bankrupt us before trial." Eleanor's savings were already drained. $20,000 spent on attorneys just to keep Emily's island protected. The Conservation Trust paperwork said and signed, held up by pending litigation. Marcus flipped through the lawsuit. "They're claiming we fabricated evidence. That Emily's video was edited." Emily, thinner after another round of chemo, lifted her chin. "Then we'll prove it's real." The next morning, Eleanor marched into the FBI field office. Agent Torres listened grimly. "They're desperate," she said, sliding Eleanor a flash drive. "This is the raw footage from your sister's camera. Metadata doesn't lie." As Eleanor left, Torres added, "Watch your back." Collins to his friends. The black SUV was back, idling down the street. The oncology waiting room smelled like antiseptic and stale coffee. Emily clutched Eleanor's hand as Dr. Patel entered, her face unreadable. "The tumors have shrunk by 60%. Emily burst into tears. Eleanor hugged her, laughing through her own. "New treatment's working," the doctor said, "but stress sets recovery back. She needs peace." Peace was hard to come by. That evening, as Eleanor kayaked groceries to the island, she spotted fresh tire tracks near Emily's dock and a business card wedged in the door. "Pine Harbor Development, Liquidation Division. We still want what's ours." The $2 million settlement check arrived in a plain envelope. Eleanor stared at the number, numb. "They destroyed our lives, and this is the price." Sophia snatched it. "This is ammunition." They gathered the neighbors, Marcus, Mrs. Foster, the Patels, in the community center. "We rebuild," Sophia announced, "starting with this." She unveiled blueprints. A new bridge, wider, ADA compliant, with solar lights. And at the center of the design, a plaque for Emily and everyone they couldn't break. The vote was unanimous. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. Emily, leaning on Eleanor, signed the Conservation Trust paperwork with a flourish. "This island is now protected in perpetuity," the attorney announced. A reporter shouted, "What about Pine Harbor's claims of eminent domain?" Emily smiled sweetly. "Tell them to try building a casino on a federally protected wetland." Later at the dock, Eleanor noticed the black SUV again, but this time it sped away. For good. The election banners read, "Marcus Johnson and Mrs. Foster, for a HOA that serves you." Not a single Mitchell name remained on the ballot. Karen's mansion had sold at auction to a young family with 3 kids and a golden retriever. As Marcus tallied votes, Mrs. Foster whispered to Eleanor, "Found one last thing in my records." She passed a faded photo. Karen and Collins at a golf course, shaking hands with Derek. On the back, a date, 2 weeks before your sister's diagnosis. Eleanor's blood ran cold. Had they known about Emily's cancer before she did? The ribbon-cutting ceremony was standing room only. Emily, now strong enough to walk unaided, squeezed Eleanor's hand as the crowd cheered. "They lost," she murmured. Eleanor watched the children running across the bridge, their laughter echoing over the water. Somewhere in Belize, a disgraced senator checked his bank balance and found it frozen. And in a prison visitation room, Karen Mitchell stared at a newspaper headline. "New HOA bans corruption. Votes to return stolen funds." Eleanor took her sister's arm. "Let's go home." Senator Collins' hands trembled as he stared at the bank notification on his phone. All accounts under investigation. Assets frozen by order of the U.S. Treasury Department. The beachside bar in Belize suddenly felt suffocating. Around him, tourists laughed, oblivious to his crumbling world. His burner phone rang, the number he'd been dreading. "They're extraditing you." Derek's voice was a blade of ice. Collins' whiskey glass shattered on the tiles. "What?" Eleanor Reynolds testified before a federal grand jury yesterday. They've got the video of you conspiring to fake environmental reports. Interpol's already. The line went dead. Collins looked up to see two men in linen suits approaching. Their badges flashed in the Caribbean sun. "Senator James Collins, you're under arrest." The envelope arrived with no return address. Eleanor nearly threw it out until she noticed the Swiss postmark. Inside, a cashier's check for $250,000 and a single line, "For Emily's medical bills." From someone who remembers what real justice looks like. It was signed with a single initial, W. Williams. Emily gasped. The senator who introduced the gambling loophole? Eleanor traced a signature, remembering the news reports. Williams had resigned quietly 6 months ago, citing health reasons. Now it made sense. "He's paying his debt," she murmured. That night, Eleanor dreamed of her father for the first time in years. He stood on the old bridge, smiling. When she woke, she knew exactly what to do with the money. The film crew took over Eleanor's living room for the final interview. "Why do you think your story resonated with millions?" the director asked. Behind the camera, Sophia held up a sign. "Tell them about the notebook." Eleanor lifted Mrs. Foster's weathered journal for the lens. "Because this isn't just about us. It's about every little corruption people think they have to live with." The footage cut to Marcus screening the documentary at a packed town hall. Former HOA members squirming as the audience gasped at revelations. But the real twist came during the Q&A. A woman stood, face shadowed by a hoodie. "My name is Lena Mitchell, Karen's daughter." The room froze. "I brought more evidence." She dropped a flash drive on the stage. "My mother kept backups too." The email subject line made Eleanor's coffee go cold. Pine Harbor rebranding announcement. Now, Azure Shores Development. Attached was a glossy brochure featuring familiar waterfront maps, including Emily's island, now labeled Future Aquatic Wellness Center. Sophia's research uncovered the truth. Same CO, same board, just new lawyers and a fresh coat of paint. Eleanor stormed into the county zoning meeting, where slick-haired executives were already schmoozing officials. "You can't let them do this again." The chairwoman sighed. "Without new violations, our hands are... How about these?" Emily's voice rang out as she wheeled in a cart of boxes. Pine Harbor's old files. "I found them in the island's boathouse." The room erupted as reporters surged forward. Azure Shore's PR team fled before the cameras could catch their panic. The construction crew hit bedrock at 15 feet, the planned depth for the new bridge's foundation. "We can't go deeper," the foreman said. "Unless..." Eleanor nodded. "Change the design." What emerged wasn't just a bridge, but a monument. Glass floor panels displaying the original bridge's wreckage below. Bronze plaques naming every foreclosed family. A 24/7 live stream of the conservation-protected island. On opening day, Eleanor helped Emily cut the ribbon. The crowd cheered as Mrs. Foster unveiled the final edition, a hollow rail post containing Karen's indictment papers and Derek's wanted poster. "For the next generation," the old woman whispered, "so they'll know what happens when greed tries to break community." As the sun set, Eleanor spotted a familiar figure watching from afar. Lena Mitchell, holding what looked like a banker's box. Their eyes met. Lena gave a small nod. Eleanor smiled. The fight wasn't over. But for today, they'd won.